Mornings with Intention podcast where we bring you stories from around the globe. Hello and welcome to Rise and Thrive Mornings with Intention. Today I have another wonderful guest with me, Will Steele. How are you today? Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me on the show. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Awesome. Tell us a little bit about yourself and where you are currently, please.
Sure. Well, I'm currently in Costa Rica. I've been living here for the last 4 months. It's an experiment, see if I would settle in Costa Rica. I set up my business. I'm a coach and lead programs. And I set up my business so I could be online the whole time. Uh, so I don't have to be in one particular place. So in the last year and a half, I moved out of the UK. So I'm not a tax resident in the UK, which is very advantageous financially as well. So that's why I'm in Costa Rica. I have been coaching and leading programs for the last, 28 years. And I've led programs to over 90,000 people all over the world. I used to lead a 3.5 day program called the Landmark Forum. Um, and that took me, I was living on the road basically, leading programs for 3.5 days, then moving to a different city or a different country and a different city. And I did that, leading those programs for 15 years. And before that, I was a pilot. So I was a pilot in the Royal Air Force for 10 years. I flew fighter jets, I flew tactical transport aircraft. Then I left and flew uh, commercial airlines for a couple of years. And then I did this program that changed my life, the Forum, the program we're talking about. And I just want to do more and more of that. I wanted to be able to make a difference with people. I saw that program alter people, like at their core. So they're not improving, they're not trying to get better, they're not got some tips and tools and books full of notes. They're just opened up as a person and free and happy. I thought, well, I want to do that. So that's what my life's been about since 1997 when I first did the program. And I changed careers. I left the airline industry just at the time when I got the top job in the airline industry in the UK. I got offered Boeing 747-400s from Heathrow with British Airways. I got the top job, and then I went and started again at the bottom, the most basic office junior job you could get in a whole new industry because I had to learn everything from the ground up, which I did, and ended up leading the premier program, as I said, for 15 years. And then the
Wow.
pandemic came, no live programs, so they got rid of, I don't know, 3/4 of the leaders. Uh, and I set up my own business, coaching. I knew I could coach, and it was like, well, I'll coach people till I figure out what I want to do. And I'm still coaching people because I love it. I love to work with somebody who's up to something. They've got a commitment, they're coachable, curious, want to find out about themselves, what's stopping them, what's holding them back, and I can do all that. So that's me in a nutshell.
Wow, that is so fascinating. Whew, where do I start? But it looks like you're living a dream, not a life. So I have some questions here. So it is definitely a fascinating journey from being a Royal Air Force pilot to becoming a transformational leadership coach. So what was the defining moment, which you kind of explained, that shifted you from leading through performance and achievement into leading through transformation and authenticity?
Yeah. Well, when I did the first program called the Forum, I did it and I thought, I'm not sure I really got that. So I need to do the advanced program because I know my friend really got it, but I'm not sure if I really got it. Although I did the day after the program finished, when I stopped trying to figure it all out and just saw something. I saw this moment when I was 3 years old, and my dad told the story of how I came along to the whole family. He said, well, we couldn't afford a third baby. Then mum got pregnant. And we thought, well, we've got two little boys already. It'd be nice to have a little girl. So we're looking forward to a little girl, and you popped out. You should have been a girl. Everyone's laughing, except me. I'm devastated because what I heard in my 3-year-old head right there was they didn't want me. And
Mm.
they never wanted me. And they really didn't want me because they wanted a girl. I was upset and decided right there, I'm the best. And my life became about having to be the best. And I was the best at many things that I did. And that was always the drive. You know, you see a lot of people in life, they're driven. And they don't know why they're driven anymore. They're just driven. And I was like that. And it was never enough. Wherever I got, I got fast jet wings. And it was like that was it. That was going to be the ultimate thing. And then I looked around, everyone else is wearing wings. And the feeling disappeared. It was like empty. It was like, oh, well, what's next? And you kind of run out of things at some point. I mean, people go for money and then more money and then more money, you know, but it's like being in a little wheel, you never ever fix the thing you don't realize you're trying to fix. Anyway, when I saw this moment, everything made sense. All this emotion came up. I was laughing at myself. I was crying at the same time. It was a transformation, totally. And I wasn't the same. I didn't feel the same. The air didn't seem the same. Colors were brighter. I was like, wow, wow, this is unbelievable. Then I did the advanced program and I watched the leader working with people, and he would ask people questions like, why is he asking that? How dare he ask that? And then the person would look at the question and then all of a sudden burst into tears. Oh my God, there's this thing that happened and I've been hiding this and that. And I was like, wow. And so how do you get to be like that? So I went to talk to the leader.
Go ahead, Will.
Yeah, so I was thinking, how does he know to ask those questions? How can he be so straight, so clear? So I went to speak to him. How do you get to be like this? I mean, how does one become a leader like this? He says, well, it's all in training. It's all the training. I said, well, how do you get that kind of training? He says, well, you do all the programs, and then you come and work for us, and then we train you, and then you become a leader. I went, okay, well, okay, will you support me? He said, sure. We shook hands. 21 years later, he was still my mentor, and he kept his promise that the whole time, whatever I went through, and it was a big, like a roller coaster journey of emotions, of transformation, of breakthroughs, breakdowns, dealing with life, everything, and he was always there. So he kept his word as a real man of his word, which was the thing that really kind of inspired me was integrity. He would do what he said he was going to do. His life was about integrity, and that's what my life became about. So, it's the foundation. With integrity, if you're whole and complete, one definition of integrity is being whole and complete. The thing is complete, nothing missing, nothing broken. It has integrity. If you're that as a person, like you're complete with everybody and your whole past and everything, you're solid. There's nothing you're hiding. There's nothing you're trying to make up for. Um, so that became, the foundation for what then became my career as leading transformational programs, which I did for 21 years. And then the pandemic came, and there we go. I started my own business, and I've been coaching ever since.
Oh, that's amazing. So you talk about helping leaders uncover what is truly holding them back. What are some of the
Yeah.
hidden constraints you see most often affecting high achieving leaders today?
Well, leaders, business owners, people who are really up to things. Mostly what holds them back is all in their head. It's conversations in the background
Hmm.
that they have about themselves. People talk about imposter syndrome. Oh, I've got imposter syndrome. What is that? That is some disempowering conversation in the background running, and it's automatic. This thinking is automatic. You don't have to do anything to do it. It's just running. And if you can, which you can with training and coaching, separate yourself from the thinking. In other words, observe your own thinking. And there's a you observing your own thinking. And you may have heard about this in, you know, meditation books and all that stuff, but it's actually possible to do it in life, not just while you're meditating. It's possible to be observing yourself saying stupid things, observing yourself, having thoughts wait, that's crazy. I'm not committed to that, you know, and being able to be present. And that allows you to be really productive and powerful in life. So it's really working with people is identifying what's holding them back because you're powerful. You're infinitely powerful. And the only thing holding you back is you. But what part of you is it that's holding you back? Well, it's the part you think is you, but it isn't actually you. You know, and that's the whole world. Once you open up that world for people, you give them access to a new life, new ways of producing results, new ways of being effective with people. Um, so, you know, I don't just coach leaders. I coach, or people who would call themselves leaders. You know, I'm a business owner. Okay. Now, you could say, well, that's a leader, but maybe you don't relate to yourself as a leader. And quite often, leaders are in positions of leadership. They're like there and they don't really feel like a leader. Okay. That's because you're listening to the thoughts. Thoughts and emotions are all connected. And it's all automatic. It's like you've got this automatic machinery pumping out feelings and thoughts, and you're just at the effect of it until you can get it's just going on, and then there's a you can observe that. And then you're free. That's real freedom. And you have to keep reminding yourself of that. You have to keep catching yourself becoming the automatics and oh, I'm in it again. Oh, wait, that's not me. You know, and then that's, you know, for me, that's 28 years of training.
Wow. So after
Mhm.
serving for 21 years in major personal development organization and
Mm.
impacting more than 90,000 people across 26 countries, what patterns have you noticed among the people who create extraordinary transformation?
They're willing to really tell the truth. And most people say, well, I do tell the truth. Well, it's about being able to, um, how we used to say is to be authentic about where you're being inauthentic. So people are pretending and then pretending they're not pretending. You know, so as human beings, you know, you want to look good for people. Oh, well, that's automatic. So now life becomes about having to look good or at least not look stupid or not look bad, or you get concerned with what other people think. All of that takes away your power. In the Air Force, we used to call that, as a pilot, we used to call that capacity, spare capacity. If you've got a jar, you know, depending how full it is, if it's totally full, you have no more capacity. If it's half full, you've got lots of capacity. And they were looking for people who could fly and have still have capacity. You know, you can talk and think and plan and move forward and adapt to what's happening as well as flying the airplane. But if flying the airplane took up all your capacity, you're no use as an Air Force pilot.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to have flying be just second nature, do it really well, but then you've trained yourself. Now you can do that without almost thinking. You're just always thinking ahead. You're always looking ahead, and you're really thinking out ahead of the airplane. When you start, you're behind the airplane. You know, you're trying to keep up with it, but then you get to a point where you're ahead of it. So it's like that in business. It's like that when you're, you know, if you've got something you're up to in life, you've got to be able to deal with what's in front of you. And if you're caught up in your thoughts and you're caught up in your fears and your worries and your concerns, you don't have much capacity left to deal with what's in front of you. Whereas if all of that, you've kind of mastered all of that, you've got a lot of capacity to deal with what's in front of you. And you have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of power. You know, one of the things I work with people in is who've got, you know, too much going on and they're overwhelmed, is getting what is actually going on, what is actually the case, what is happening, what has happened, what still needs to happen, what's in the process, what is actually so, what's going on. And once you get things to be black and white, then it's really simple. Okay, we need to do this, we need to move that there, and we need to do that. Right, great, go do that. They come back the following week and they've had breakthrough results. You know, but now they're stuck with this thing. Okay, well, let's take a look at that. And we take that apart. Okay, great. Now they've got clarity with that. So sometimes people have asked me, what's your coaching program? As in, what do you teach? Well, I'm not teaching you very much. I'm trying to get all that out of the way so you can see what there is to see and deal with because you're totally capable, just not being, worked with in a way to free you up to be fully powerful with what's in front of you.
No, that's definitely powerful right there alone. Just explaining that whole concept, right? Because people think they need more information, but it's not really about that. And I also love that you're an author. So you wrote a book, Free to Lead.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, so congratulations. So you also explored the idea of freedom in leadership. What does
Mm.
it truly mean for a leader to become free? And how does that change the way they show up in the world?
Oh, enormously. So what I mean by being free is you're not stuck with any way that you're supposed to be as a leader. So I remember for myself in the Air Force, to become a pilot in the Air Force full time, I was initially at university. I was in the University Air Squadron, and there you're checking it out, and they're checking you out. Is it a good fit? Are we a good fit? Do you want to do it? And once I decided I did want to do it, you then got to go through officer training. You've got to be an officer to be a pilot. So it seemed like officer training was just something you had to go through to be able to start your flying training properly and become a pilot. So I got advice from people who've been through it before, from friends. Oh yeah, they said keep your head down, keep your mouth shut, stay out of trouble, don't stand out, just get through, and then you can start flying training. Okay, good. So I did that. And 16 weeks into this 18-week program, the flight commander brought me into his office and said, Steele, I cannot recommend you for graduation. You're like a ghost. You don't show up, you don't say anything. It's like, officers need to speak up, man. So he said, you got two choices. You can leave the Air Force, no, no, no hard feelings, or you can do the program again. I'm like, I've just done 16 weeks, right? I thought I was about to get through this thing, and now I went, well, I want to be a pilot, so I'll do it again. I know I need to do it. And I came back to my room and I thought, oh, jeez, that didn't work. I was trying to be what I thought I was supposed to be to get through, and I went, screw it. I'm just going to be myself. I'm going to be myself, and let the chips fall where they fall. But no matter what, I'm going to be myself. And I graduated 18 weeks later with a leadership trophy from Royal Air Force College Cranwell.
Wow.
And I wasn't trying because I thought you had to be public school. I thought you'd have a proper, military background. I never wanted to be in the Air Force or in the military. I had no idea about being a pilot until I got to university and saw you could get free flying training from the Royal Air Force if you joined the club. So I joined the club.
Mm,
But so I got no, my view of myself was I'm not this, right? So I tried to be what I'm trying to think we should be. And it's never powerful as you being you, just being you. So if you could give anybody a message, just stop trying to be like you think you're supposed to be and be you. But then you got the question, well, who am I? And that can send you down a rabbit hole, right, in the wrong direction. Versus really what it means is to be free is you've got no attention on you. Your attention is out with what's happening, with the person you're talking to, with the situation you've got. Your attention is out. You're free of all of that stuff, that worry and fear and what do they think and trying to do it right or say the right thing or not upset people. No, if you're really with people, there's just dealing with them and what they're dealing with and the job that you're doing. So, what I mean by being free is freeing people from all these constraints, uh, limiting beliefs that you don't realize that you have that are really in the background. So far in the background, you don't realize, you're not aware of them. But once you reveal them, and oh wow, I didn't realize that. Oh my goodness. All of a sudden, by being aware of it, you're free of it. So what it is to be free is to be able to be just totally present in the moment, dealing with what there is to deal with. And the words will come out.
hmm.
It's obvious. You're a genius when you're present. When you're in your head, you're not even in the situation. You're not even there.
Yeah, it's like a big cloud. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Definitely. I love how you're explaining that. I could sit here all day listen to you.
But people used to for 3.5 days.
Yeah. So many founders and executives achieve success but still feel stuck, overwhelmed, or disconnected. Why do you think
Mhm.
external success doesn't always create internal fulfillment?
Well, if you remember what we said at the beginning, for myself, when I was three, I decided I'm the best. It was to make up for not being wanted. So you will find with, I mean, I've worked with 90,000 people, and every single person has things that happened and interpretations of those moments and meaning you added to what happened. And that's where it all gets messed up. So you find what works about people is, what they've ended up doing, how they ended up being in life that produces results, the kind of results they want. So some people are people pleasers. They're very, very good at it, but they don't really feel connected because it's a compensation for something. Maybe you think you're not liked or people don't like you. So now you've got to please everybody to be accepted. But you never really feel accepted because, you you just were putting this act on basically to get
Yeah,
them all to be around you and like you. So you can be in a whole room full of people and feel not connected because you're
definitely.
not. You're not connected. You're making up for something that you made up in the first place, a younger version of yourself made up about you that's in the background, invisible to you, driving everything. So the results you produce from this compensating decisions that you had made that you need to be, that you can be, that you do to make up for this thing that you're not, that's also made up. It's just on top, on top, on top of decisions, and you're just so far away from just being you, the real you, no matter what results you produce from this you that you've become, it's never going to fix that feeling inside. In fact, every time you produce a result from this way of being and acting that you rely on, it actually reminds you of what you're not. I remember one of my limiting beliefs is I'm not academic. I'm not academic smart. That's not me. I looked across the room at 11 years old at Robert Tice. Robert Tice knew all the answers. He could answer, he could speak French already. He played the violin. He knew physics. It was like, where does he get all this stuff from? So I thought, I'm not that, you know. So I decided I'm not that. So I worked hard and got the results, but it's because I worked hard. It wasn't because I was smart. And I remember when I got my degree, my brother said, God, you're so brainy. And I'm thinking to myself, no, I just worked hard. Do you know? So even getting the result doesn't fix that thing because it actually reminds you of what you believe you're not. So it's actually a double-edged sword, it's screwed being human.
Yeah, and it's like kind of like your default state. You keep going back to that default state and you're trying to
Mm.
get through the mud. Yeah, I can totally relate through all that you're saying. So, um and it's not an easy thing for to get through. So can you share a story of a leader who you worked with who experienced a breakthrough because they changed how they saw themselves rather than simply changing what they were doing? And I'm sure you have tons of stories.
Yeah, like who do I pick? I mean, I'm working with a doctor actually at the moment, and this doctor, um, after working with me, realized she's trapped in this. Her whole life has been about pleasing her father. It was, and it would track it all the way back to she sees a mother and a father, and she decides a mother's not a good wife, and the father's not happy. So, this little 3-year-old decides, I'll be daddy's wife, you know, which sounds a bit incestuous and all of that. None of that happened, but her life was about making sure dad was taken care of, making sure he had what he wanted, making sure he was happy. If he was upset with anything, she would be the one fixing it. She paid for her brothers to get educated. She prayed for bought houses for members of the family. You know, she like was giving money away. Her whole life was this, and it was like she wasn't happy doing all of that stuff, but she like was compelled to do it all because her whole life was about that. But once we got her to get, wait, no, you're not a wife, you're a daughter. And now it's like, well, what is it to be a daughter? And she is so free now. She's actually right now, she lives in a different country to her parents, but right now she's with her parents. And she's so happy. She's there in her own house. She's not living with the parents while she's there. She's living in her own place. And they all didn't like that. But she's now so grounded in herself, in her true self, who she is. She's no longer this character. She's her true self. She's so happy. You know, she's so happy. She's at peace. She deals with the family powerfully. And you know, she's not the same person at all. She is totally free from that whole thing that she was caught up in, that she didn't even know she was caught up in. You know,
Mhm.
um, and it run her marriage, how she was with her husband. You know, you see parallels with the relationship with your parents in your relationship. So whatever's not okay in your relationship with your parents, or what we call incomplete, it will show up in your relationships. So, there's work to do. You work with me, there's work to do. There's work to do on the stuff that's running you in the background that then frees you up to be who you really are and create what you really want in life. So, a
Wow.
long answer to your question.
Oh, that's amazing. Any other stories you'd like to share?
I can talk for 3.5 days. I don't think
I
we've got
know.
that long, right? But yeah, let's see. Uh, Oh yeah, I had a scientist working with me, and he developed this really amazing way for people to lose weight. So these really grossly overweight people, like 200, 300 pound people who tried everything would come to him, and he would get them in 12 months to lose the weight, to reset their microbiome system, the whole thing, so they don't crave to eat sugar and all the wrong stuff again, and they get fit and they get kind of a reset. And in 12 months, they're not the same person and they're healthy. So it's like what he's doing is miracle, amazing. And he wasn't charging very much for it. And he had lots of clients and he was like burning out. I said, well, how much do you charge? He said, well, I charge 600. Well, actually, it's just for the first consultation. Then it's down to about 400. I said, what? What you're doing? They've tried everything else and paid more for it. You should be charging at least 2,000 a month for that. He goes, oh, man, it's so easy for me. I don't want to manipulate anyone. And, it's just can help them. And he's a really good person. But I heard something. So I said, look, wait, let's go back. You said manipulate. So tell me, did someone manipulate you? Or did you see someone manipulating somebody else? Or what does that remind you of? He goes, oh man, all the time. And so I'm always getting manipulated. He said, I got two professors together who started a business, my idea, and then they went together and set off and took the business. And it was my idea. I said, oh, okay. I said, and he was kind of upset about that. I said, look, right now, what does that remind you of growing up? What's the earliest time you remember feeling the way you feel right now? He went, oh my God, I never thought about that. He says, but when he was 11, he had this godfather. He'd go and see him every week. They used to hang out, he used to give him some money, and it was all great, apart from one time when he went down and he put some pornography on and did some inappropriate things with him. And he was all messed up, confused, thought it was his fault, thought there was something wrong with them. And he gave him money, as he always did, and he was like, no one's going to own me. I said, oh, interesting. You made those decisions there. How have they played out in life? He went, oh my God. Oh, he saw his whole life. He says, I've worked in corporations and big organizations, and then they start giving me bonus checks and saying how great I am. And I leave. I can't be with it. No one's going to own me. Oh, interesting. That thing's happening again and again. And then he couldn't get a relationship to last because, he didn't feel comfortable. There was something wrong with him. And that all got sorted out. So he went from where he was, very successful, but burning out, to putting his prices up, training other people to do all the work, So he didn't even have to do the work anymore, and he was making way more money. And he got in a relationship, and he felt okay about himself. I mean, it's like not the same life at all from one conversation. That was one conversation, which, that's the training. I'm not saying I'm a genius. I've just been really trained to listen for certain things. And when I hear them, you kind of follow that little thread and get back to where all that came from,
Yeah.
you know?
Wow. That's fascinating. I love it. I love listening to it. And such a difference you're making in people's world. So life. So you worked, as we know, with leaders from across different cultures, industries,
Mm.
countries. What
Yeah.
universal leadership challenge seems to exist regardless of where someone is from?
Yeah, well, it depends where they're at or the size of organization they're working at. A typical one is when somebody's moving from about 1 million a year in their business that they've created to 3 to 5 million. So you can get to 1 million a year doing everything yourself, basically, but you're burning out. Somebody's making 1 million a year, then you say, okay, let's move it up to 5 million a year. Why not? And you're like, oh, I'm already working full out. I can't. You know, they have to delegate. And, I can't tell you how many times I've heard, but it just takes so long and people never seem to get it right. And it's just quicker to do it myself. Yeah, guess what? You are now the lid on the business. You cannot grow a business if you're doing it all yourself. You're the business. You don't have a business. You have a job, and a job that's pretty suffocating. So the what has to happen is have to train them. I'm going to say train them because it's a training to get them to delegate and delegate well and delegate effectively. And how people normally delegate is to tell someone what to do and how to do it. But the person is just trying to do what you've said. They're not at the source. They can't think from the the area, the domain that you're asking them to think from. You've got to get them to own it. Like they're accountable for an outcome. So look, you're here, you're accountable for sales increasing by 5% every year. That's your accountability. I could tell you what I would do. You've got to do it the way you do it. This is how I do it. But your job, what I'm paying you for, is to produce this result. See, that's a very different conversation, a different way to look at it and take the thing apart. And then you're more like a guide and a mentor to those people in your company as they take on different aspects of your company and then grow your company for you. And you step out. So the less you're actually doing in the running of the company, and you're now looking at increasing the business. You're now looking at joint ventures. You're now looking at having conversations with the different area of people that now come to your business. So I, I, wh- you know, I was half joking the other day. So the next book I should write should be on delegation because it seems to be there's not I can't find many books that are great on delegation. And if I did, I know the book title is Delegate or Die. You will die. You will burn
Yeah,
out. Your business will fall apart unless you learn to delegate, you know. But
exactly. Yeah.
but could that be a whole book? I don't want to keep writing books. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's the one of the very common things I deal with people.
Wow. That's amazing. And your other book, did you say it was available on Amazon? I'm not sure if we mentioned
Yeah,
that.
free to lead. It's available on Amazon. Free to lead, unleash your hidden leadership genius. You can also go to my website, willsteele.com, um, / free to lead, and then you'll find a whole kind of page on the book. You can download a video of me working with people, and obviously there's a link to Amazon there, so you could get the book there.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. And of course, I'll share that information in the video comments as well. So for obviously people listening today who feel maybe they have reached a level of success, but knows there's more, something
Mm.
more and possible for them, what questions should they begin asking themselves And of course, they can reach out to you as well.
Yeah, what do you want? What do you really want? I mean, what do you really want? So if you could have anything, what is it that you really want? And then, I could work with you to get that. Just get all your doubts out the way, all the limiting beliefs out the way, and create the pathway to actually accomplishing what you really want, not what you've become kind of caught up in, not what you should want, not what other people want you to want. What do what do the real you really want? What do you want? And if your answer is, well, I don't want anything, yeah, there's no thing you'll find. If we cut you open, we won't find it. It's something to create, to be inspired by that for you would really make a difference. So, yeah, if we can start looking at what do you really want, and if you want to have a conversation, maybe we can look at it together. Because once somebody gets what they really want, or they already know what they really want, but they're not accomplishing it, either, it's fine. We'll get to it and produce those kind of results in your life.
Mhm. Great advice. Definitely. So like you can sit down with that question and brainstorm, or like Will said, reach out to him if you're
Yeah.
feeling you need more. So looking ahead, what kind of leadership do you believe the world needs most right now? And what invitation would you give to those who are ready to lead differently?
I think the world needs authentic leadership. Um, you look at presidents, you look at prime ministers, you look at that, I don't know, they're just, it's like no truths. What about being able to tell the truth? What about being able to be straight with everybody? You know, um, you can say, you can look at certain leaders and say, well, they're being straight. They say it just the way it is. Well, yes, but then later they say something that's different. So it doesn't really add up. See, people think just saying what's on your mind or whatever comes to your mind is being authentic. Well, it's authentically expressing whatever your brain has sent to you,
Yeah.
but is it your true you? If you really start and go, wait, what do I really want? What am I really about? You know? So I think if I could work with world leaders, and I've worked with one or two, you could call world leaders. Um, it's just really working with them to get them clear about what they really want, what they really want to accomplish, and then what's in the way of them from their perspective that's stopping them, blocking them, or it's seeming impossible for them to have that. See, I believe anything's possible, and people say, yeah, anything's possible, but they don't really believe it. Not really. Um, Whereas if you get all the limiting beliefs out the way, it's just like now that's all out of the way. It's just dealing with what's in front of you, what's out there, not what's in here about whether you believe it or not. It's out here dealing with it.
Hmm. Wow. Well, we could go on all day. I have so many more questions to ask you, but I do have one final one. As the name
Yes,
of the podcast is Rise and Thrive Mornings with Intention, how
yes.
important do you think it is to set intentions, either first thing in the morning or throughout the day? What's your take on that?
Oh, I think that's very, very good. Really good. If you have an intention, you're not rehearsing what to say, you're not uh, too rigid, but you have an intention. So if I have an intention, if I'm working with a client, um, I was working with a couple, right? They didn't get on. They wanted to sort out their relationship. So I'm really trained in that. Um, so you got two partners together who aren't getting on, aren't really communicating. They used to, but not anymore. So I have to really work with them and listen to them to get to where their relationship went off. Things happen and we get resentful, and things happen and we might have regrets. and things happen and we don't like that, or there's something lacks integrity and we don't deal with it, and you carry on, you know. But if you don't deal with it, it's still there. It's there until it's talked about. It's there until it's, discussed and sorted out and gotten what I call complete. When it's complete, it's gone. You don't have to talk about it ever again. It's gone. So, um, yeah, what was the question again? Say the question. So,
How important do you think that is intention first thing in the morning or throughout the day?
yeah. So, um, you know, if I'm work, so why I came up with examples, if I have an intention, I don't know what I'm going to say with those people, but I have an intention and I know what it sounds like when it shows up that they're complete with each other. There's nothing left, no animosity, no bad feeling. Everything's gotten sorted out, everything's gotten communicated. They've got nothing left in the way. So now they can create the relationship newly from this moment. But I have that intention. So deal with whatever shows up because I have that intention. So by creating an intention for today, or an intention for this meeting we're having, or an intention for this work this project we're about to take on, there's an intention. Very powerful because it's not the whole answer. It's just that you have this intention. And if you can keep reminding yourself of what your actual intention is, it keeps truing you up to what you're actually out to accomplish. And you're more likely to accomplish it rather than just kind of be busy all day and, next day's like the next day.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Wow, well, this was very inspiring, deep, and your presence is amazing and everything you shared with us today. So thank you so much for being on the podcast today, Will.
Thank
Please
you.
reach out to us if you have any questions. Of course, we'll share all the information how to get in touch. And once again, thank you so much for your wisdom and I can't wait to see what else you'll have out there for books and things like that. So
Yeah.
everyone, have a wonderful day, and Will, thank you so much for being here.
Thank
Take
you.
care. You're welcome. Take care, everyone.